I hope you're having an amazing day. I decided to make this video to share my honest thoughts about my experience living here in Cebu compared to Mindanao. To make sure I don't forget anything, I wrote down everything I wanted to say. This way, I won't take too long thinking of what to say while filming. Okay, so let's start with the things I don't really like about living in Cebu. What I don't like about Cebu. Number one, the heat. One of the first things I noticed when I got here is that it's much hotter in Cebu compared to Mindanao. The temperature here tends to be more intense, especially in the afternoons. Mindanao has a much more tolerable climate, which makes it easier for me to enjoy the outdoors. I find myself feeling a bit uncomfortable here due to the heat, especially since I'm used to the milder weather back home. And number two is commute struggles. Another thing I don't like is the way commuting works here. In Mindanao, when you take a tricycle, they will take you directly to your doorstep, no matter where you live. It's super convenient. But in Cebu, they only take you to the end of the block. If you want a ride to your door, you have to take a taxi. Well, that's possible. Taxis here charge based on fuel consumption, which feels really expensive to me. It's definitely a different experience compared to Mindanao, where transportation is much more affordable and efficient. I'm actually a little bit nervous. Okay, now number three, the unpredictable weather. I also find the weather here in Cebu to be quite unpredictable. Back in Mindanao, it's easy to tell when it's going to rain. The weather patterns are more consistent, so you can plan your day accordingly, like knowing when to hang the laundry or when to take shelter from the rain. But here in Cebu, I feel like the weather can change an instant, making it hard to prepare for. This unpredictability can be quite annoying, especially when I hang clothes outside and suddenly have to bring them in because of an unexpected downpour. So now let's talk about the things I actually enjoy about living here in Cebu. Number one, convenience of stores everywhere. One of the things I really like about Cebu is how many stores are scattered around the city. There's almost a store in every block, so you never have to go too far to get what you need. In Mindanao, there are fewer stores and you sometimes have to travel a bit farther to find what you're looking for. But while it's convenient to have so many stores here, I have to admit the prices are noticeably higher than back home. Everything from groceries to basic supplies seems to cost double the price I would pay in Mindanao, which can be frustrating. Okay, now number two, stable power supply. Something I really appreciate in Cebu is the consistency of power. In the city I live in Mindanao, power interruptions are common and it can be quite inconvenient. Here in Cebu, I've noticed that power outages are rare, which is a huge relief. It's something I hadn't realized I would miss, but it really makes life easier when the electricity is stable and reliable. And number three, less public drinking. Another positive thing about Cebu is the absence of people drinking by the side of the road, which is very common in Mindanao. It feels like the people here are more focused on their work their families, and improving their lives. I've noticed that people are generally more responsible and the environment feels more orderly and productive. Number 4, urban living. Living here also means everything is more accessible. Transportation, business establishments, medical services, entertainment, you name it. It's all closer. While the houses here are closely packed together, it's a sign of how urbanized and developed Cebu is, which is something I find useful. I hope you understand my accent. If I had to choose where to raise a family, you know my accent when I speak English and talking to the camera. This is I actually sound when I'm talking to my students. If I had to choose between Cebu and Mindanao for raising a family, I would definitely go with Mindanao. Here's why. Number 1, freedom for children. The countryside in Mindanao offers children the freedom to roam and play outside without worry. I think every countryside. The wide open spaces, the fresh air, and the natural surroundings create a perfect environment for kids to be kids. They can run around, play games, climb trees, and enjoy nature. In the city, on the other hand, children are often glued to their gadgets, and it's not as safe for them to run around in the streets. The fast-paced city life doesn't leave as much room for the carefree, adventurous childhood that I believe every kid deserves. Number 2, my childhood memories. I had a really good childhood growing up in Mindanao. I spent hours outside climbing mango trees, running through the fields, and just enjoying the simple joys of life. Those experiences shaped who I am today, and I truly believe that childhood experiences in nature are irreplaceable. I feel like kids who grow up in cities miss out on those kinds of adventures. Number 3, city versus countryside. Oh, it's already 8 minutes. But anyway, being a countryside girl, I sometimes feel a bit left out when I see girls my age in the city. They seem more experienced, especially when it comes to navigating city life, working hard, and dealing with the hustle and bustle. Sometimes I feel like I'm not as well equipped to handle city life, but I know that I had an amazing childhood growing up in Mindanao, and I think the countryside is still the best place to raise children, where they can experience the beauty of nature and learn important life skills in a safe, peaceful environment. Concerns about living in the countryside? Of course, life in the countryside isn't all perfect, and I do have some fears. Number 1, superstitions. One of my biggest fears, oh, you hear that? It's raining. I hope you can still hear me. One of my biggest fears is the belief in witches, fairies, and other supernatural beings. Growing up, I've heard so many stories, and I do believe in them though, because I have heard. Sorry, I'm looking at the window because I'm a little scared. Because I have heard, sound, which is sound, when I was a kid. There's always that lingering fear, especially at night. It's a bit of an eerie feeling that comes with living in rural areas, and sometimes those old tales can feel too real. Safety concerns in the city. On the flip side, living in the city comes with its own set of fears. I'm afraid of thieves and crime. In the countryside, you mainly have to worry about keeping animals out of your house, but in the city, you need to watch out for people who may try to steal your belongings. It's something I never had to worry about in the countryside, so it's a bit it's a bit of a change. Yes, and the rain is getting heavier. So final thoughts. Gee. So that's my take on living Cebu versus Mindanao. Oh, it's fun. Okay, anyway.